Hey guys, I had gotten a email from some guy who was complaining because he didn't get to see the crane or the grain on wood. So I don't feel like I have to show every piece of wood, but sometimes it's nice to see them, and I'm not against the guy. I just felt like, I didn't show it that time out of the 5,000 videos I must have. But anyway, I'm going to show some now, and what we have here is, this is red oak, and you can see the grain in this red oak. And the thing that's nice about it, especially red oak, is that it's very strong. So some of these boards that I have here that are stored in the greenhouse, some have split, some have other variations, but when you get right down to it, the wood is really magnificent. The grain on it is very nice, and when you put polyurethane on that, that shows up like you couldn't believe. So this is red oak here. Sorry about my shadow, just the way the sun is today. Red oak. Now this is cherry. What you're seeing here with this dark line and stuff is the way the sun's been hitting the board. The sun makes the wood slightly darker where it dries it better. So that's the difference there. But the grain is very nice on cherry. It's not as pronounced, or as it's not as busy as what I would say that white oak is, but cherry is very nice. I don't have a lot of cherry. I think I've only cut 2 cherry trees in the past 3 years, and they haven't been all that big. But I managed to get some, 3x3s for legs and stuff out of the cherry that I have here. So you can see the difference between where it's been covered with another board and where the cherry's not been covered. A little bit of sanding will take care of that if you go to use it for something. Cherry is affected by sun, and like red oak is not. I mean, you can get a little bit of a variation in red oak, but it's not very much. Not like the cherry is. But the cherry does have a very nice grain to it. And it's nice wood. And luckily the stuff that I have here from here down in this pile, you can see it's a nice fine grain, and none of it has split from drying. So this is actually going to make some nice furniture sometime here. You can see on the red oak here, a lot of the grain is running straight up and down here. This is some nice red oak that I have stored here. This is white oak. You can see that burly looking marbly stuff on white oak. White oak doesn't have the same kind of grain that red oak has. It's slightly different. Depending upon where you cut, what part of the tree you're cutting from, it can have the same sort of grain, but it's not. Red oak is distinctive. You can tell red oak really, I can tell it anyway from a distance. But this is the little bit of a burly white oak, and you can see then that has grain to it. It's not exactly beautiful. White oak is a very kind of dull looking grain to it. When you polyurethane it, it doesn't jump out at you like red oak does, but it's still very nice. Now this is white ash, and if you look, it has some pretty nice grain. It's distinctive. It shows up very well in the sunlight. You can see how nice that grain looks there. And I'm interested in making some furniture out of this. I've never used ash to make furniture before, but I'd like to try it and see what it looks like. But a lot of it, this is all ash on the top here. This ash is very nice looking wood. I know that there's a lot of ash trees that have succumbed to the beetle or bug or whatever it is, but these 3 skids of wood that you're looking at, this one, and the smaller one there, is mainly pine. white pine actually, and white pine as it darkens from the sun and stuff as it dries out, especially when it's the rough cut, and that's what we're looking at here. It doesn't have a lot to offer, I mean, as far as looking at it that way. But if you run it through the planer, which is what I would do with this stuff to use it, you'd end up with some really nice looking boards. But white pine has various kinds of grain. The knots look nice in pine, if you ask me. That's what my favorite part of it is. Now some of this stuff, I'll show you the grain up here. This is white ash here from about here up. Most of this is red oak though. In fact, I think this bottom one's red oak. But most of this is red oak. You can see the various colors in it. Depends on where you cut it out of the log. But as far as showing the grain, once you start drying it, the grain kind of gets lost in the brownness that's brought on by the sun. This is white ash in here. This side's not done drying. This side here I need to get out of here because this side has dried pretty well. You can see how dark brown that is. I had to get on to doing leaves here. I'm using the tractor and all I'm doing is blowing the leaves to the right up here. Now you could do this a couple different ways. You could ride in the middle of the thing first and blow the leaves both directions, which is probably what I should have done because I'm driving one way without doing anything here. But either way, the leaves are pretty dry and I get to blow them pretty good. And all I need to do is blow them into the woods. You can see that second pass widened them out pretty good to, where the leaves are gone. The problem here is there's a lot of leaves on the trees, but if you get any snow or rain, once the leaves start coming down, they're hard to blow away. So right now I'm blowing these because they're fairly dry. So I just want to get the bulk of the leaves off the grass, because the other problem here is it kills the grass if you don't pick them up before spring. Okay guys, here's one of the things that I was doing today besides raking leaves. You can see a polyurethane, or not polyurethane, I can't even think of what it is now. I painted the post because the black part don't need to be painted because that's going to be covered, but the underneath of it needs to be painted. So my daughter cleaned it for me after it's dry. I actually did this yesterday, so she cleaned it today. It's dry, so I'm going to paint black what's going to be seen after we put the steps together. So that's the next step on that. Okay guys, so we're on to something else here now. Here's the good news. I got this new roller here. That's the in-feed roller. And I had to put the gear onto it, which I did. So I'm about ready to bolt that in. But I gotta show you this. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with people. This thing would actually fit in the box here. Okay? And all you have to do is put paper on each end, around the end. Apparently nobody did that, and when I got it, it was sticking through the box in both sides. It was sticking out here, and it was sticking out over there. I mean, it's freaking amazing. People can't even wrap a package. Anyway, I got it. I'm gonna see if I can't get this fixed somehow, and then I'll have another extra one. But for right now, all I want to do is put this together. So, in putting this together, it's just a matter of this bracket with the end thing on here goes on this side to hold that in place. I'm sorry, on this side, and then the other bracket goes on that side. But I got to put the chain around the gear there yet. So I'm going to put that on there, and then I'll get back to you in a second. Okay, so you can see the Allen wrench right here, and I'm putting the screws on both sides of these brackets. I've already got this one in and I have the chain on there. So it's just a matter of tightening them up. And it takes pretty much tension because the spring is tightening up already as soon as you start the screws. So I'll put that in there and then put this cover. This cover goes over top of this to keep things from getting too dirty. and then we'll try it out and see how it works. Or at least if it runs. I'm not going to put any wood through it just yet. Okay, so I have it plugged in. The plastic thing right here is up in there, snapped into place. And I'm going to try it. I'll turn it on. Okay, it's running, so it seems like it should be good. I'm going to clean this off here now, this plate on the bottom there, so that I can run the boards through later. But at least that's fixed. It only took about 15 minutes to put it together. So it's not a hard fix. And like I say, it's a matter of 2 bolts here, 2 bolts on this side right here, and that whole thing comes out. Then there's a snap ring. You got to use these pliers here. Let me try and get you in a good spot here where you can see what I'm showing you here. Yeah, you got to use these type of pliers to get the ring off that holds the gear on for the sprocket, and then that's pretty much it. Alright, I'll clean that thing off and then I'll be able to use that. I'm glad it's working.